Well, also on this day, we lost one of the Christian greats, and C.S. Lewis passed away on this day 50 years ago, same day that the late President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. With us right now is Dr. John West. He's Vice President of Discovery Institute, where he is Associate Director of the Institute's Center for Science and Culture. He's also the director of the C.S. Lewis Fellows Program on Science and Society. He has, written an awful lot of books and edited books, but now we're going to talk to him about a new documentary, C.S. Lewis and Intelligent Design. Dr. West, nice to have you, sir. Where are you?
I am in my home office in the Seattle area.
Oh, well, great signal. Wow, you're looking good. Thanks for being with us. Well, the fascinating documentary, give us a little background on those who may not know C.S. Lewis. Of course, we know the Chronicles of Narnia, which just really swept the country. But tell us a little bit about C.S. Lewis and why you took on this documentary.
Sure. C.S. Lewis's works have sold more than 200 million copies. So he is a major figure, not just for Christians, but for really English-speaking people, period. And that's actually why today at Westminster Abbey, in the world-famous Poets' Corner that celebrates writers like William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, a plaque and a memorial is going to be installed for C.S. Lewis today on the 50th anniversary of his death. So in addition to the Chronicles of Narnia, he's beloved for books like Mere Christianity, the Screwtape Letters. He wrote adult science fiction novels, and then his day job, as it were, was as a scholar of medieval and Renaissance English literature, first at Oxford and then at Cambridge University. Actually, Oxford, he was sort of subject to what might be called political correctness. Because of his Christianity, they never gave him a professorship there, but Cambridge did. And so basically the ending decade of his life was spent at Cambridge. And his works are still well regarded in the field of medieval and Renaissance literature today.
No question about it. And if you've never read any of his books, you've really missed it. I would really encourage you to start at least with Mere Christianity. You can go from there, but it's a fabulous book. Well, Dr. West, you're involved in a documentary, and I did not know that C.S. Lewis, I guess, had an intense struggle to discover evidence of intelligent design. Tell us about that in your documentary.
Yeah, this is a sort of a lesser-known story, and Lewis started out, he was an atheist, and one of the things that drove him to atheism, his mother died early on from cancer, but was what he called the argument from undesign, that if you look around in the world as it exists today, there is incredible complexity and beauty, but there is also a lot of pain and suffering. Things break down. There's illness. And, as those of us who are Christians would say, that's the result of the fall. But when you see that, it was hard for him to think that this was the product of, say, a beneficent designer. And in fact, in the video, when people watch it, they will get to hear some poems that Lewis wrote, one called Satan Speaks, that he wrote while he was an atheist during World War I, that I think will maybe shock some of the people who are used to his Christian writings. But the fascinating story is that from this doubt, Lewis really saw some arguments and some evidence that forced him to a different view, and the evidence compelled him. Lewis actually adopted as a motto for his life an injunction from Socrates that follow the argument or follow the evidence where it leads. And Lewis lived his life like that. And so the documentary is the story of how Lewis confronted things like beauty, human reasoning, morality, and just the sheer complexity of nature that forced him to really see a different view. Wow.
Well, because of those earlier statements and writings, some Darwinists and maybe even atheists still claim him as one of their own, right?
Yes, they do, and actually some Christian supporters of evolution do too. And I want to distinguish, evolution is a many-faceted concept, and one part of it is that we're the product of or descended from a common ancestor. The other, though, the really Darwinian notion is that it's a blind and purposeless process, really driven not by design or purpose, but by unguided natural selection. And Lewis, on the first claim of evolution, although he was increasingly skeptical of some claims that humans shared a common ancestor, say, with apes, he never really thought that was a big issue for him, either as a Christian or otherwise. For him, the central claim that was wrong was that we were the products of an unguided process of selection acting on random mutations. And in fact, his doubts about Darwinian natural selection predated his conversion to Christianity. Also, during World War I, he was wounded on the front lines, and while he was recovering, he read a book called Creative Evolution by a French Nobel laureate, Henri Bergson, that critiqued Darwinian natural selection. And that really helped convince Lewis that Darwinian natural selection really couldn't build the sorts of things that was claimed. And this, again, predated Lewis even becoming a Christian or a theist.
Because my next question was, what did he think of Darwin's theory? So obviously, he embraced it, and then it began to fall apart.
Yes. Again, on the idea of common ancestry, that was never a big deal even after he became a Christian. But certainly, the idea of evolution as an unguided process of natural selection acting on random variation, not requiring design from a designer, was something that he found increasingly incredible.
Now, as he made this transition from atheism into Christianity, and certainly struggling with the evidence of creation, was he ever concerned about the misuse of science and how it could be used on either side of that argument?
Oh, very much so. And a common theme throughout Lewis's works, including the final work he wrote, which was, for most people, a rather obscure book, but called The Discarded Image, which is on the medieval view of the intellect. He was concerned that science could be misused to sort of turn into its own religion. And that was a very dangerous thing. And he saw it during his own lifetime in places like Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, and even in his homeland of Britain, where people tried to do something called the eugenics movement, was really using the ideas of Darwinian biology to breed a master race. And he saw it used to deny that people had free will or personal accountability, or to dismiss the idea of morality as just sort of an evolving product of a natural selection that didn't have any permanence. And so he was very concerned in many of his books about the misuse of science.
Wow. All right, so how do people view this documentary?
The easiest way would be to go to cslewisweb.com. That's cslewisweb.com, and they'll find the link to YouTube. They could also go directly to YouTube and search for the C.S. Lewis channel. But again, if they go to cslewisweb.com, that's probably the easiest way to find the links.
How's the response been?
Very good. A lot of people have viewed it in just a few days, and we're hoping, this is the third video that we've done based off this book that I edited last year called The Magician's Twin, and the other ones have received like 50 to 60,000 views, and so we're very hopeful that people will want to see this. This, again, is a really fascinating personal story of Lewis's personal journey, and he still has things to tell us today.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, Dr. West, thank you for your time, and thank you for your work. Fascinating, to say the least, and keep up the good work. You got anything new coming out?
Well, next year, I'm currently working on a project called The War on Humans, which is really a tale of some interesting, scary things that are happening. That will be for the first part of next year, we hope.
All right, good. Good. We'll look forward to getting you back on that. Thanks, my friend, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Okay, you too.
Okay,
bye.
We'll be right back.